Hi and welcome to another narration, presented by yours truly, Cryptid's Roost. Let's just take a moment's silence for all the haters, Karens and the trolls. That's enough. Be sure to check out the blooper reel at the end of the video, which is then followed by the end screen where you will find more videos listed. So grab your coffee, sit back and enjoy the show. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not. The Replacements. This awesome short story is written by R2B Eating You. Daddies, mummies, brothers, sisters, it is a new era and a new age. Every new age brings something new. There's a new site that gives you all your quality jackets, joggers, shoes, bags, hoodies and lots more. Metaphysik.com. Check them out today and I bet you won't regret patronising with them, and you will definitely demand more. It's Metaphysik today, Metaphysik tomorrow, and Metaphysik forever. 100% perfection. Remember to use the code XYZ for a 10% discount on your first order. Disclaimer: the story you're about to read is based on the factual events of President Abraham Lincoln's assassination. However, the story is a fictional telling of said events. The story is not meant to offend anyone in any means. It is strictly meant for entertainment purposes only. Newspapers everywhere rang out,
President Lincoln assassinated late last night at Ford's Theatre. John Wilkes Booth wanted for questioning.
Union soldiers everywhere immediately sprung into action, searching for Booth. The search parties had been informed that Booth was wanted alive for questioning in the assassination of President Lincoln, and would more than likely be seeking aid from Confederate soldiers. 12 days had passed since the untimely death of the president before Booth was finally captured alive, after a gunfight had ensued on a small farm in Virginia. The Confederates helping Booth hide out on the farm were all brutally gunned down that day, before Booth was caught and escorted back to Washington, D.C. It had taken the Union soldiers 2 days to return Booth to D.C. and place him in the custody of Detective Harris. Harris escorted Booth to a small confined room in a back corner of the White House. Opening the door, Detective Harris said to Booth, "Take a seat over there and explain to me just why you decided it was a good idea to kill the president." Booth sat at the table directly across from Detective Harris and began recounting his story of just why he needed to kill the president to save the world from the utmost destruction. "Well, detective, in order to tell you the whole story, I have to take you back to the night of the 3rd of November, 1863. See, that night I was going to Mr. Smead's store to pick up a few things for my mother. When I entered the store, I saw Mr. Smead standing there at the counter arguing with a skinny, frail man, until he made eye contact with me. I did not know who this man was. Once he looked up from the counter and turned to face me, I realised just then that it was the president, and he didn't look very healthy at all." Detective Harris: "He looked like he was about to drop dead any second. Are you following along with the story, detective?" "Yes, Mr. Booth. Continue on, will you?" Detective Harris said in a casual tone. "I asked the president if he was feeling all right, and he said, 'I'm fine, John. It's just a small case of the flu. Nothing to worry about, my friend.' I then put it at the back of my mind and carried on about my own business, as usual. And the night before the president headed out for Gettysburg, I wished him the best of luck, for his condition never got better. It wasn't until he arrived back here in DC on the 24th of November that I realised something was very wrong. When he left, he looked like he was on his last legs, but when he returned, he appeared to be as healthy as an ox. So I started to follow the president. Everywhere that man went, I wasn't far behind, because I just had this hunch, you see, that he was not the same man that left for Gettysburg, but somehow in some way it was a different version of Lincoln, and I just had to find out what had actually happened to the real president, or determine if I was just going bonkers because no one else seemed to realise anything was different about him. It wasn't until one night in early May of 1864 that I finally figured out just exactly what had returned from Gettysburg, Detective, and it wasn't the president. John carried on. Okay, John, let me get this straight. You were saying the president left for Gettysburg, but someone or something else returned disguised as him? Detective Harris asked curiously. Yes, Detective, that's exactly what I'm trying to tell you, John said furiously. Okay, John, carry on. I won't interrupt you anymore. Just finish telling me why you killed the president, Detective Harris said. Well, Detective, it was the night of May the 22nd, 1864, when I encountered the president once again inside of Smead's store. The president was arguing with Smead over the fact that he hadn't had frog brains in stock, as the president had been ordering them every week for several months now. However, Smead had forgotten to order any for his weekly delivery, and the president was confronting him about how incompetent he had been. May I have a glass of water? I'm feeling a little parched. Booth finished his sentence on that note. The detective yelled for one of his men to bring Booth a glass of water, so that he could finish with his confession. After receiving the water, Booth drank it down in one gulp and continued on with his story. You see, Mr. Smead was very scared of the president at this time, and had begun to cower behind the counter. I could tell the president was extremely angry by the tone of his voice. As I glanced up from the shelf I was hiding behind, I saw the president's features begin to shift. It's like he wasn't even human anymore. Do you understand what I'm saying, Detective? John asked. Yes, John, I understand what you're saying. Just finish the story. What exactly happened next, John? The detective asked. Well, his features began to shift into some kind of lizard-looking thing. He had horns on his head, his skin turned green, and believe it or not, he even sprouted a tail. I was instantly as horrified as Smead was at that very moment. I didn't do anything but duck back down into my hiding spot and watch as the president devoured Smead. It was a week later when I decided to do something. After all, someone needed to protect the world from whatever that monstrosity was, right? For it was not the president, and the world needed to know the truth. So I began following him again. Everywhere he went, I wasn't far behind. Then I started to figure out his routine. So I knew he would be at Ford's Theatre on April 14th, and that's when I took matters into my own hands. See, I snuck through the back door and up the staircase to the balcony with my flintlock pistol. I stepped through the curtains onto the balcony and placed the barrel of my gun directly to the back of the impostor's head and said to him, I know what you are and will not let you ruin this beautiful country of ours. So say your final goodbyes, you monster. I pulled the trigger, killing him, before I fled to where your men managed to find me hiding out at the Confederate camp in Virginia. That's why I had to kill the president. I was doing the rest of the world a favour, you see, Booth said furiously. Now, are you going to let me walk out of here a free man for saving this beautiful country of ours? Or are you going to hang me in front of DC for the assassination of that monster? Well, Mr. Booth, That's a very interesting story you have there. But here's the thing that you didn't know about the whole situation. These things you speak of are known as reptilians, and we have been here since before Mr. Lincoln became president. He told us that since we could change our appearances to that of anyone we had met, we would allow us to live freely on Earth as long as we were willing to help him, the detective said as his face morphed into that of a reptilian. John freaked out instantly and shouted, "What on earth? How many of you are there?" The reptilian morphed back into the detective, saying, "Oh John, there are thousands of my kind here on Earth. As you can tell, we can blend perfectly into your average day societies. Lincoln wasn't the only government official to be replaced by one of us. We are here to help make sure that this planet contains peace and order, and does not spiral into chaos. As for our agreement with Lincoln, no one needs to ever actually know about us, except for the people that we are doubling and the ones that were informed of this very treaty. For it is a need-to-know basis, and quite frankly, we don't think the average citizen needs to know." "So just what do you plan on doing with me? Are you going to eat me like that imposter ate Mr. Smead?" John asked with a frightened expression on his face. "Oh no, John. You see, the average civilian needs to see you to be punished for what you've done. They wouldn't possibly stand for anything less than to see the man that killed the president publicly executed in front of the whole town. Once that is done, then our secret will remain just that, a secret, John," the detective said. That next morning, on the day of April 15th, 1865, John Wilkes Booth was publicly hanged on the White House lawn to emphasise that the government would never stand for another atrocity such as this again. The deal that was made was kept a secret from that very day forward, as the papers read out the next morning.
John Wilkes Booth, hung for the assassination of the President. Justice has been served.
I hope you all enjoy the blooper reel. Harris escorted Booth to a small confined room in the... "Well, detective, in order to tell you the whole stew..." I then put it at the back of my mind and carried on that he was not the same man that left. So I began following in. See, I snuck in through the back door and up the staircase to the balcony with my flintlock pins. That's why I had to kill the president. These things you speak of, we are to help. Oh no, John. You see, the average civilian needs to see you. Hey family, please be so kind as to punch the like button and smack the ass of the subscription button as well. And remember to chokehold that notification bell and then select all. That way you'll receive all notifications each time I upload a new video. And by subscribing, you'll be the first to see all of our new spooky creepypasta stories. A very big thank you to R2B Eating You for allowing me to narrate this awesome short story. Make sure to check out R2B Eating You's Reddit page for more brilliant stories as well. Also be sure to check out the R2B Eating You's playlist here for more of their stories that I may have already narrated. I would just like to say a very big thank you to all of the authors that I have worked with and all the ones that I will work with in the future. So thank you all, my brothers and sisters. and why not hashtag cryptidsroost in your comments. If you would like to support the channel and help make us grow, I have an account at buymeacoffee.com. You can buy me a coffee with your donations, big or small, to that site. You can also support us at Ko-Fi, which is an alternative to Patreon. I have an account at BitChute, which is an alternative to YouTube. Or you can support us, donate via paypal.me/cryptidsroost. All relevant links will be below. And don't forget to check out the end screen, see above. That will also list some more videos in my back catalogue. So take care everyone, and I hope you all have a wonderful and peaceful night. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not.